So, Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to our Bhagavad Gita course. I'm your host, Bhaveshwari Vishaka Devi Dasi, and I'm happy to have this opportunity to serve you all. As you all may know, our course goes on for 12 weeks, starting today. We will meet every Saturday from 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. In each session, we'll dwell into the essence of Bhagavad Gita, exploring its timeless wisdom and practical applications, followed by a Q&A session where all your questions are answered. Our goal for the session is to deepen our understanding and connect with the divine. To make it even more special, we are planning a get-together offline or even a visit to a holy place at the end of this course. So more details will follow soon. Now it's time to introduce our speaker for today, Haridev Krishna Prabhu. Welcome, Prabhu. Just before we all welcome Prabhuji, it's my honor to give a brief introduction about him. So Prabhu is an engineer graduate from the prestigious NIT Surathkal. He began his career in the IT industry, working for 3 to 4 years before venturing into the education. He founded Arjun Academy, a renowned coaching institute for IIT JEE competitive exams, where he has guided thousands of students over the past decade. But what's truly remarkable about him is his spiritual journey. He came into Krishna consciousness in 2007. Since then, he has preached to many and especially mentored numerous youths, guiding them on their spiritual journey. His dedication has inspired hundreds of youths to adopt devotional service, transforming their lives through his guidance and mentoring. So, Prabhu has given his valuable time for us today. Please, everyone, join me in welcoming Prabhu by loudly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for joining us today, Prabhu. We are eager to learn from your insights and guidance. Over to you now, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the introduction. Suvarna Hari Prabhu is also here. Then I seek Prabhuji's blessings also before we begin.
Prabhu, sorry, Prabhu. Suvarna Prabhu is in another meeting. Name it came successful.
Oh.
Since his ID we are using.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. So we welcome all of you to this 12 session course. And before we even begin, I wanted to maybe get one short sentence from each of them. We don't have too many here. If you can say one line at least on what you are intending to learn. Maybe I will call out the Zoom names and you could just speak out. Harish, can you just...
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
You're coming for the first time?
No, Prabhu. I am.
Okay. If those who are joining for the first time, who are attending participants for the first time, can you all raise your hands on the Zoom? Then we can get to hear from you what you are interviewing. Okay. Redmi 9A, yes. Any particular thing that inspired you to join for the course?
Prabhu, this is Gautam Pai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, I have been like doing only self-reading, never attended any courses or discourses around Bhagavad Gita. So I thought this would be a first opportunity to do that.
Oh, okay. Fine. Hare Krishna. Anybody else who's okay? So then I think most of them are already connected to our temple and they're attending the course. Am I correct in this one? Okay. So
No, Prabhu. Some of them are joining for the first time.
first time, is it? Okay, okay. So then let's get started. So if you can allow me to share the screen, I can share the PPT also. Is it? So before we begin, we'll offer short prayers and then start off. In spiritual practices, we always offer prayers before we begin any activity for two reasons. One, spiritual knowledge is different from our regular academic learning, where in academic learning, it's you know the subject, but here we seek the blessings of the divine so that what we learn, what we speak, we also practice in our own life. So I just offer short prayers and then we shall begin. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Paschati Deshatharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So can someone make me the co-host or something? Then I'll be able to share screen, I think. Or give me.
Yes, Prabhu. Just a minute, Prabhu. Yes.
Yeah. So before we begin, I thought I'll speak a little bit about ISKCON itself as such, because those who are new, who are coming for the first time, must know a little bit at least about ISKCON. ISKCON stands for International Society for Krishna Consciousness. International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So this was started by Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, we call him like that. And what is the background? The background is Srila Prabhupada met his guru, his spiritual master, in the year 1922. By that time, Srila Prabhupada was kind of slightly averse to meeting saintly people. Why? Because he had experiences that there would be many people wearing saffron robes, asking for some dakshina or bhiksha. And then the money that was given to them, they would sometimes use it to smoke BDs, cigarettes, etc. So by then, Srila Prabhupada had developed a kind of distaste. Oh, I don't want to attend any sadhus programs like that. But his friend had really requested him and kind of forced him, saying, this person whom you are going to meet is a very genuine saint. He's not like any other. Please come. I want you to attend his class. And he goes, and in the lecture, his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in the very first meeting, he says to Prabhupada, you are an young, educated Indian. Why don't you take up to the practice of spirituality and preach this message of Bhagavad Gita all over the world? And Prabhupada was surprised because it is the first meeting. He doesn't have any previous acquaintance with this person, and he's getting a lifelong instruction. So Prabhupada argued back in a very polite manner. He said, who will listen to spiritual knowledge? Because now we are under the British rule. The whole of India is looking at how to free ourselves from British. I don't think spirituality is the need of the hour. And his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, responded back, spirituality cannot wait. Previously, we were ruled by Mughals. Currently, we are ruled by British. And in future, Even if we gain independence, we will still be under rule of some bureaucrats or politicians. But spirituality is the need of the soul. So that can't wait. No, that is an emergency. So he was very much convinced how spiritual knowledge goes beyond any other requirements. And he had deeply taken the words of his guru to his heart. And he was constantly thinking, how can I fulfill this mission? But then Srila Prabhupada had a family. He had his family responsibilities. So along with his family responsibilities, he tried his best to gain some followers in India. But unfortunately, because Indians were so much into freedom struggle, and then after independence, we were economically so poverty stricken, many of their focus was only into earning money, starting industries, etc. So Srila Prabhupada, for 40 years, from 1922 until 1965, along with his other responsibilities, tried to gain some practitioners of spirituality and gain some followers and then go to the West. But unfortunately, in 40 years, he could not get even one single committed follower who would assist him in spreading spiritual knowledge in the Western world. Why did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ask Prabhupada to go to West? Because he said, Indians are very fond of imitating the West. Whatever is there in West, they say it's very, very good. But the Westerners, they are actually in great awe and veneration of the Indian culture, value systems, etc. They are looking to learn our spiritual practices. So if you go there and preach this divine message of Bhagavad Gita and transform their lives in a positive manner, and they get benefited, seeing how they are accepting our practices, Indians may start to realize the value of their own culture. So this was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's vision. So Srila Prabhupada tried in India. He didn't get any followers. Then in 1965, when he was 69 years old, he decided, before I leave this planet, I will somehow have to fulfill the words of my spiritual master. So he goes to one Sumati Morarji. She was the owner of a big ship company, and he requests her, I want to go to America to preach Bhagavad Gita. Please give me one free ticket. I want to travel by ship. You have a big steamship company. Just a minute. So he requests, please give me one free ticket. I want to go to the US. And Sumati Morarji said, you are like my father. America is so cold and you are so old. You don't have any person to take care of you there. If you go there, who will take care of you? You may die there. You don't have any money. How are you going to survive there? And for almost 2 days, there were back and forth arguments, discussions. Prabhupada would request, she would say, no, 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 not possible. And then finally, Prabhupada said, you said, I am like your father. And the father is asking one simple request, and the daughter is unable to fulfill this simple request. What kind of a daughter is she? And then she agreed, okay, you please go to America. And then Prabhupada went there. For 1 year, practically, he had no home to stay, etc. But he had strong faith in the chanting of the holy names. So once he started chanting the Hare Krishna mantra in a park called Tompkinson Square Park. And with closed eyes, desperate, prayerful attitude, he was praying for the mercy of the Supreme Lord and his spiritual master. And as he began chanting the Hare Krishna Kirtan, after some time, lot of interested people started gathering. And who were these people? These people were not spiritual seekers. Rather, they were looking for spirituality, but kind of misguided. And they were into a lot of experimental activities. Some of them were experimenting on drugs, hoping that this is going to give them spiritual realization. Some others in very other wrong means. But when they heard Prabhupada and when they started chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and they started following the principles of Bhagavad Gita, those who were addicted to very, very detrimental habits, they started finding the joy of spirituality and they started transforming. And this is how the ISKCON or Krishna consciousness movement began. And I forgot to say, when Srila Prabhupada was going in the ship, he was not given a very grand ship to make his visit to America. He was sent along with all the goods and luggage in a cargo ship. And the journey lasted for almost 30 days. And 2 days consecutively, the Atlantic Ocean was very, very turbulent. And because of the heavy waves, etc., Prabhupada had seasickness and he, in fact, had 2 heart attacks. He writes in his personal diary, if I have another heart attack, I don't think I'll survive. And he offers prayers to Lord Krishna. And Krishna appears to him in a vision and says, do not worry, everything will be successful. You please go on with your journey. And the next day, the captain of the ship says, the entire ocean became so peaceful. So this was his journey to America. And then once these Americans started transforming, they felt great joy in their lives. And then they started saying, we want to spread this message to other people because many others, our friends, are also looking for happiness, but they're experimenting several things. And unfortunately, they're suffering, they're not getting happiness. So they started going and preaching this message of Bhagavad Gita. And that's how slowly ISKCON started spreading. And when ISKCON started spreading in US and London and several other parts of Europe, etc., then eventually when the devotees, foreign devotees came to India, Indians realized what great treasure we have in the form of Bhagavad Gita. And that's how today many of us in India are practicing spirituality. So we thank Srila Prabhupada for his sacrifice and for giving this message to all, and eventually we all are getting benefited here. So not that once ISKCON became famous, Srila Prabhupada also became a very, very great, different person. He was one and the same. Even today, many of them would know ISKCON means Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Many people hardly know the person behind ISKCON because that was Srila Prabhupada's move. He always wanted to keep Krishna in the center and himself in the background. So there's a small introduction to ISKCON. We welcome all of you who are joining the course for the first time. Srila Prabhupada wanted our ISKCON temples not to be like any other ordinary temples where we just go offer prayers. Many a times not prayers also. We offer our long list of demands or wishes, right? I remember when I was a student, the Ganesha temple would be empty almost every day. But as the exams are nearing, Ganesha gets a lot of followers. All students start praying, oh Ganesha, please help me to pass in the exam. So many a times in India, most of us go to temples either when we are frustrated in life or when we want something. We hardly go to inquire. Most of us, we just wait for the Mangal Aarti. I remember my own childhood. So sometimes we would be doing Pradakshina, and while doing Pradakshina, we would talk about all the gossip in the world. And suddenly when the Mangal Aarti comes, we become very, very attentive, as though lot of prayers, prayerful heart. And once the Mangal Aarti is over, then we just keep the kumkum and chandan and then push off. But Srila Prabhupada didn't want our ISKCON temples just to be a social gathering or just to have a wish list offered to the Lord. Prabhupada wanted this to be an educational center where people come, they exactly understand who am I, what is the purpose of my life, who is God, what is the relationship between me and God, and what is the joy in loving and serving God, and why should I in fact love and serve God. All these things Prabhupada wanted everyone who comes to the temple to be clear with. So this course is a humble attempt in helping each one of you to get as many as your questions answered. So we seek the blessings of Prabhupada and then begin today's session. Hare Krishna. So today we will be having our first session. This course we also call as Gita Simplified course. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita, all of you know, has 18 chapters, 700 shlokas, and to study it in depth would take a little bit of time and effort, but we are trying to give you the most important concepts and a broad overview of the Bhagavad Gita itself. So what is the goal of today's session? First is to understand the core message of Bhagavad Gita, then to gain clarity about our identity, who am I? And then next is, of course, who is God? And what is the relationship between us and God? And then when we learn all these spiritual practice principles, how is it going to be practically applicable and beneficial for me in my life? Do I have a day-to-day application of what I'm learning? Can it also help me in my day-to-day life to be better? Or is it only that I will realize its value when I die? Is spirituality only meant for a happy dying, or is it also meant for a happy living throughout? So that is also something that we are going to see, right? So the objective is, of course, every one of us, we are looking for happiness, isn't it? So today, the whole idea of this course is how by connecting with the Bhagavad Gita, one can actually find eternal joy and peace. So that is the objective. So on happiness, generally I speak 2-3 things. One is all of us are looking for happiness. That is the nature of the soul. The scriptures say the soul is ananda mayo abhyasat. That means the soul is always seeking for happiness. And why are we seeking for happiness? A very obvious question. If we have tasted masala dosa somewhere, then naturally the craving for masala dosa will again and again come, right? If we have never tasted it, we would never feel the urge to eat masala dosa, or you should have heard somebody else at least tasting it, right? Somebody should have described, hey, masala dosa is very nice, especially in this restaurant, it is very good. Either you hear from somebody who has had that experience, or you yourself have had the experience, then the craving is there, right? And this, in a similar manner, the Bhagavad Gita is going to tell us why this is the nature of us constant pleasure seeking. Why? Because we have experienced this pleasure sometime in the past. And now, because we have experienced it sometime in the past, somewhere else, we are looking for that same experience here. But what is the nature of this world? Sometimes this world, Srila Prabhupada would sometimes say, happiness many a times is like a post-dated check. Commonly, we give this example when a student is in 10th standard, the parents say, this 1 year you study well, your whole life is set. And the student, unfortunately, having full trust on the parent and the teachers, thinks this 1 year is all. After that, I'm going to become happy forever. And then he passes 10th, then he gets a sudden message. There are just 2 more years, 11th and 12th. You prepare for some competitive exam very nicely, get a good mark, and then your whole life is set. And then he thinks, okay, I'm going to get happiness, 2 more years. And then what happens once 2 more years are out? Then they say, okay, now we have got into a good college, just 4 more years, get placed in a good company, and then your whole life is set. And then what happens? He gets placed, and then he gets an instruction. Now you've got a very good job, so you'll have to preserve your job. So you'll have to work hard throughout life. And then the person asks, you promised me there's happiness. So in this world, many a times we have this experience that the happiness promised, there is a promise given, but often there is something lacking. That is why the soul is constantly seeking. Where is that place where I can really be satisfied. And why are we seeking for that? Because the scriptures say we have experienced it sometime in the past. And that's why there is a hankering there. So we'll see how to connect to that satisfying, fulfilling experience of happiness through the study of Bhagavad Gita. Now, before we go into the first topic, we should know the glories of Bhagavad Gita. So why is it called Bhagavad Gita? The word Gita means song, right? Is it a song? Yes. When a very exalted personality speaks, every word becomes as sweet as a song. And what to speak of the Supreme Lord himself? When he speaks, everything is so melodious. And what is the meaning of the word Bhagavad? Bhagavad means this is not a song composed by you, me, or any normal human being. This is composed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is also called Bhagavan. So Srila Prabhupada would often emphasize we should know what is the meaning of Bhagavan. Why in India many people don't take spirituality very seriously? Because unfortunately there are so many cheating gurus who also say, I am Bhagavan, you are Bhagavan. But the scriptures say, what is the exact definition of Bhagavan? So who is called Bhagavan? It is said, Bhagavan, Bhaga and Van. Van means one who possesses, and Bhaga means who possesses some opulences. In fact, the scriptures say Bhagavan means the person who possesses 6 opulences in totality. And what are these opulences or greatness? The 6 qualities that the Supreme Lord possesses. They are as follows. First, he is extremely beautiful. So sometimes we see some people advertise themselves as Bhagavan. I am Bhagavan, they say, but they don't look beautiful. And sometimes they grow old and their body dwindles. They're incapacitated, all of them. So Bhagavan is not like that. He is beautiful. How long is he beautiful? From birth until his passing away from this world, which is different from the passing away of you and me. Till that time, every moment he is always beautiful. And what is his beauty? His beauty is much, much more than anything that can be conceived of. Just to give an example of how Lord is different, right? Recently, we celebrated Janmashtami. Some of you registered for the session after attending the Janmashtami festival, right? You all should know how was Krishna born. In India, many people have misconceptions about Lord Krishna. Some of them say Krishna is, he is not God, he is maybe a very great personality, like that. No, there is a Krishna is not even the greatest personality. He's different. He's the Supreme Lord. How do we know that? How was Krishna born? When any of us take birth, we are born with blood smeared all over our body, and we are crying when we come out of the womb of our parents. But how was Krishna born? The Bhagavatam says, as soon as Krishna was born from the womb of Devaki, how did he appear? He appeared in Shankha Chakra Gada Padma with 4 hands and with mukut, with curly locks of hair. And he immediately began speaking in Sanskrit. And as soon as he was born, Devaki and Vasudev, who were tied by the shackles in the prison, the shackles got free. And immediately they offered namaskar to the child. Which child will get namaskar from the parents as soon as the child is born? They immediately understood this person is not a person of this world. So this is Lord. So why is it called Bhagavad Gita? Because Krishna is Bhagavan. And who is Bhagavan? One whose beauty is unparalleled. Then the second is one whose strength is unparalleled. And next is one whose knowledge is unparalleled. Okay, so beauty, strength, knowledge, then fame. He is extremely famous. Nobody can match his fame, right? And then he's extremely wealthy. How can we call Krishna as wealthy? I may be crorepati, somebody may be lakhpati, somebody may be arabpati, whatever. But Krishna is called Lakshmipati. That means he is the one, he is the husband of the one who has the wealth of the entire creation, which is Lakshmi. Lakshmi, right? All the wealth of this world belongs to Lakshmi Devi, and Lakshmi is serving Krishna. So Krishna is the most wealthy, right? So sometimes, uh, uh, yeah, so that way. So what are the 5 I said so far? He's beautiful, he's knowledgeable, he's wealthy, and he's strong, and he's most famous. So these are 5. Why is he most famous? I think some movie star is more popular, somebody else is more popular. No. How long will a movie star or sports star be remembered? Maybe as long as their career is and next generation. But Lord Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago. His book is still the most popular spiritual book, Bhagavad Gita. And every year his birth anniversary, his Jayanti appearance is celebrated, right? Janmashtami. So we can easily understand the Lord's fame is incomparable. So he's most famous. And the 6th one is the icing on the cake. If we have all these qualities, let's say I'm very beautiful, let's say I'm very intelligent, let's say I'm very famous, let's say I'm very wealthy, and let's say I'm extremely strong. The participants who are attending for the first time, what do you think would be our quality if we had all these in large proportion? Would we be humble or would we be extremely proud and arrogant? We would be very proud and arrogant, right? But the icing on the cake is Lord Krishna, along with these 5 qualities, he has the 6th quality, which is he's extremely detached and renounced. So therefore, he's never proud of his position. He's always humble. And what is the proof? The proof is the photo that you're seeing on the slide, right? The Supreme Lord is ready to become the chariot driver of his own devotee. And what does it mean to be a chariot driver? Let's say I may be an ardent follower of Narendra Modi ji, but if I say, Modi ji, can you drive my car? It would be considered disrespectful, right? But for Lord, that all doesn't matter. Arjuna just requested, Lord, can you be on my side in the battlefield? And I want you to take care of my chariot. I'm giving you the entire chariot. So it's like a car driver, but Lord never had any reservations. And to give a little more details, those days, it is said, when how the communication would happen in the battlefield. The battlefield is extremely noisy. So the Arjuna cannot shout, Krishna, please take a right turn. Krishna, please take a left turn. I want you to go more left. All this cannot be spoken because of the noise. So how was Arjuna regularly communicating to Krishna? It is said that Arjuna had to kick Krishna on his shoulders. Right? When he kicks Krishna on his right shoulder, Krishna understands, I will have to move to the right. And harder you kick, more right you will have to move. And harder you kick on the left, more left you'll have to move. And this is the Supreme Lord, in spite of having all these opulences, ready to be extremely renounced. So this is the Lord who we are going to understand about in the Bhagavad Gita. So as I said, many people misunderstand Krishna. They think Krishna is an ordinary human being. He is not. His incarnations are also not ordinary, right? So I told, as soon as Krishna was born, he was not born like us with blood smeared. He appeared with Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. This is one example to show how Krishna's birth is not ordinary. And what about other incarnations? If you read the Bhagavata, it says about Varaha avatar. Varaha, who is Varaha? Varaha means a wild pig, right? And the scriptures say, how did Varaha avatar appear? He appeared from the nose of Lord Brahma. imagine somebody comes from the nose, very, very filthy place, right? So Lord appeared from the nose of Brahma, and as soon as he appeared, he shook his body, and whatever water droplets were sticking to his body, those water droplets started sprinkling. Imagine a pig comes to us, near us, and sprinkles its water droplets. It's nasty, right? Because the pig is a filthy animal. And that too, this pig is appearing from the nose of Brahma. But the Bhagavatam says, moment this happened, all the sages understood. They smelt fragrance. They didn't see any stink there. So this is the Supreme Lord. His appearance is divine. So we should understand this is not spoken by a normal person, and it's a completely different person compared to us, and he's the Supreme Lord. So, and it was a conversation that happened between Arjuna and Krishna on the battlefield. Why? Why did it happen? Because Arjuna was in a dilemma. He was in Dharma Sankat. What was the Dharma Sankat for Arjuna? He did not know whether I should fight in the battle or not. What was his Dharma Sankat? He had two dharmas. One, as a Kshatriya, he has to fight against Adharmavadis. And he knew the Kauravas were on the side of Adharma. So as a Kshatriya, I need to kill them. But he also had a Kutumba Dharma, a family Dharma. He was thinking, there are my own relatives, and there are also my teachers, my elders who took care of me. And for what is this battle fought? Because we just wanted 5 villages, we requested, it wasn't given. So then for property we are fighting. He felt very, very selfish that I'm fighting for a wrong purpose on one hand. On another hand, he also felt as a Kshatriya, when people are on the side of Adharma and they're causing injustice and they're ruling the world, it is the duty of Kshatriya to bring law and order back. So I have to kill them. So this is called Dharma Sankat. Many a times in our life, we think it is Dharma Sankat, but actually our life, we don't go through Dharma Sankat. Sometimes some students who are studying, they say, sir, I have Dharma Sankat. I ask them, what is your Dharma Sankat? Sir, tomorrow I have my midterm exam coming up, and today there is IPL match. What should I do? I said, this is not Dharma Sankat. Dharma means both have to be right. And now you are finding it difficult to choose which is more right. Between watching IPL and studying for exam, there is no, it's a no-brainer. You'll have to study for the exam. This is not Dharma Sankat. Many a times, due to our uncontrolled mind, uncontrolled senses, even a no-brainer looks like Dharma Sankat. But Arjuna was not in such dilemma. He was actually in real Dharma Sankat. And therefore, he inquired from Krishna, what should I do? What is the right thing for me to do? And that's why the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. And was it spoken for the first time? The answer is no. This Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters, 700 verses, and Krishna spoke this in 40 minutes. And Arjuna understood everything. But when we try to understand Bhagavad Gita, with 1 year of study also, we don't understand properly. So this is the intelligence of Arjuna, and where are we, right? So we'll have to understand the greatness of the speaker, greatness of the hearer, right? And was Bhagavad Gita spoken only for the first time to Arjuna? No, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I have given the same knowledge to the sun god, who is called Vivaswan, some 5,180 years ago. Krishna spoke this to Arjuna, but millions of years ago, he has already spoken it to sun god. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Then why was there a need to speak again? He clarifies in the Bhagavad Gita, because this message somehow got lost in due course of time. And in order for the message to be revived, I'm again speaking this to you, Arjuna. And who narrated the Bhagavad Gita? The entire Bhagavad Gita was seen as a live telecast by Sanjaya due to the blessings of his guru, Vyasadeva. And therefore, he was able to see it and narrate each and every detail to Dhritarashtra, who was very much anxious because he knew my children are on the side of Adharma. I don't think they will survive this battle and come out victorious. So he was very anxious. He wanted to know what happened. Are they fighting? So all this was told by Sanjaya. And where does the Bhagavad Gita come? The Bhagavad Gita comes in the Mahabharata. Mahabharata was composed, you all know, we also celebrated the Ganesh Chaturthi some days ago, right? It was composed by Vedavyas. Actually, in the earlier days, the Vedas were only called Shruti. Shruti means you speak and the other person remembers and he passes it on to the next generation. There was no need for writing because people's brains were so high, their memories were high that they could store all of those details within them. But Vyasadeva, when he saw that Kali Yuga was approaching, he understood in Kali Yuga all of our lifespans are reduced, our memory is reduced. So he understood all the Vedas have to be written, all the Puranas, the Itihasas, everything. So Mahabharata is an Itihasa or history, and this was spoken, and Ganesh ji wrote it, right? The Mahabharata 5,000 years ago. And Bhagavad Gita comes within the Mahabharata as one of the episode. So although this comes in one of the Puranas, the Bhagavad Gita is still called as one of the Upanishads because the topmost spiritual truths are present in this small portion of Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita. So Gita is also called Gita Upanishad, right? And it was spoken by Krishna to Arjuna. That way. So what is the glory of reading Bhagavad Gita? Shankaracharya has composed 8 verses on Gita Mahatmyam. I'm just reading one verse here. Very beautiful verse. Gita Shastram idam punyam ya patet prayata puman Vishno padam avapnoti bhaya shokadi varjitaha. And what he's saying? Gita Shastram, that means Bhagavad Gita, reading Bhagavad Gita. Idam punyam. This reading is not like reading any novel or fiction. It is very, very divine. Punya. Ya patet prayata puman. How should you read? He's saying, ya patet. You should read or study rather. Prayata puman. Carefully, very carefully one should read. Not casually, like reading a novel or a fiction, etc. That way, or a comic. And what is the result of reading this? Vishnu Padam Avapnoti. Vishnu Padam Avapnoti. All of us on Vaikunta Ekadashi, we want to crowd into the temples. Why? With the hope that if I go into the temple on Vaikunta Ekadashi, there is a high chance that after my death, I will also go to Vaikunta. Right? And in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, we will learn that in the future sessions on how see, all of us are very interested to plan for future, right? Bhagavad Gita says, it's good, you're planning for your future, but why not plan for the future after death also? In this life, even an LIC plan gives plan making up to death, but we don't know what happens to us after death. But Bhagavad Gita says, there is a way where we can predict what is going to happen to us after death. After this body, what type of body are we going to get, right? So, but by studying Bhagavad Gita regularly, carefully, it is said, after death, one can directly go to the lotus feet of Lord and reside in Vaikunta and serve the Lord. And what about, okay, that's fine, sir. At the end of life, I may go to Vishnu, but what about this world? There's so much anxiety, so much fear day in, day out, right? So what about that? Is there a solution for that? Yes. Bhaya shokadi varjitaha. That means even in this world, one gets freed from all miseries, anxieties in life. So it is not just that at the end of life, we get to know that I'm going to be with Lord. Even throughout life, one becomes very, very peaceful, right? If we analyze the nature of this world, there are 3 things. One is hankering. Hankering means eagerness to attain some object. Let's say I see some nice latest model phone, mobile phone. there is constant hankering. I want it, I want it, I want it. And then once I get it, am I happy? Many a times no, because I'm afraid. Why? There is fear. Oh, such a costly phone. If it falls somewhere, all the money that I have spent will go. If some repair happens, or if, let's say, some latest mobile came with some other extra features at a lower cost, right? So even when we get an object in this world, there is constant fear. Oh, what if this doesn't last long? What if it's not there with me, like that? And eventually, the law of this world is, whether we like it or not, either the object leaves us, or we will have to leave the object when we die. One of the two things happen. So that may, when there is eventually a separation, which we were so fearful about right from day one, right? Even after getting the object. So then there is lamentation. Alas, I lost it, like that. So in this world, this is the constant three cycles. Hankering, then when we get it, there is fear, and then when we lose it, there is lamentation. So by understanding spirituality, one will understand how one can be peaceful in all these situations. Sometimes we may get what we desire, sometimes we may not get. How to remain equipoised in both places? There is fear, right? So how do we overcome fear? Look at, Srila Prabhupada would tell, look at the African elephant. The African elephant it needs almost close to 50 to 100 kilos of uh, foodstuffs to be eaten every day, right? The African elephant has not gone to any college. The African elephant has not mastered any degree, but the Lord is still supplying for the African elephant. If the Lord can take care of him, will he not take care of all of us who have who are also his children, right? So every time we are fearful, oh, now recession is coming, that is going to happen, this is going to happen. But the Lord knows these are all my children. How can I give them up? I will protect them. I will give them what they want, like that. So that way, by understanding spirituality, one can become peaceful. Recently, I was telling to some of the people. So I was going to some 2, 3 townships, and we went and met few people. We were asked to do an academic audit on seeing the quality of teachers. So unfortunately, the teachers were very poor standard, but I was seeing the teachers, they hardly knew much about the subject, but they were considered very high and they were being paid very big salaries. And why was this happening? Because God decided, I'm going to take care of each and every one of them, right? They are all his children. So when people, so we see even in this world, not always only the smart people flourish. Even those who are not smart sometimes are taken care by providence. So by understanding spiritual life, our anxieties go low. If people who don't have much of skills are also taken care of by God, if I do my job sincerely and try to upgrade my skills as much as possible, I'm sure God's protection will be there even for me, right? So this is how Bhagavad Gita can help us to overcome all the anxieties. And what are the other advantages of Bhagavad Gita? It helps us to clean our lower natures. Jesus gave a very nice analogy in the Bible, right? He says, all of us have a good dog and a bad dog, and both of them are barking within our heart. And needless to say, which dog barks most of the time louder? All of us know, right? The good dog generally doesn't bark louder. It's the bad dog who barks louder, saying, do this, do that, etc. So Jesus says, imagine you have a piece of bread and both dogs are barking loudly. And generally the bad dog barks louder. He says, 99% of us seeing the loud call of the bad dog, out of fear of the bad dog, we end up feeding the bad dog. So the fear of bad dog forces us to feed the bad dog. But then he says there's a problem. If we feed the bad dog, Next time when you have a piece of bread, which dog is expected to bark louder? Any answers? Obviously, the bad dog. Why do you think the bad dog will bark louder? For two reasons. One, the bad dog knows if I scream, I will get my food. And last time I already had an experience. So the bad dog starts barking more louder. And second, because we have fed the bad dog previously, the bad dog has gained strength. And because we have neglected the good dog has become weak. And then the bark will be even louder than before. So what happens? We again helplessly feed the bad dog. And this becomes a vicious cycle, and eventually the good dog dies. I quote my own example. All of us, when we make a mistake for the first time, we feel very guilty about it. But second time, the guilt is somewhat less. Third, fourth time, the guilt dies down very quickly, right? I remember when I had copied in the exam, I think it was in 5th or 4th standard for the first time. No, I remember I had cried almost for 15-20 minutes. I made a big mistake like that. So, because that's the first time you have fed the bad dog. The good dog bark was quite loud, saying you're doing the wrong thing, like that. Then during 7th standard, we had board exams. So that time, the examiners told last 5 minutes is grace time. Any doubts you have, you can discuss. So all our friends, we decided to go ahead with the policy. Sharing is caring. So we all started helping out each other. That time we didn't feel bad. And as we went higher, we started making plans. Hey, the syllabus looks vast. Why don't you study these chapters? I will study this, and then we can have this one. So you see, progressively, the consciousness is becoming more dull, right? So these are the lower natures we want to clean our hearts from, right? Janmashtami. We say Janmashtami means we will have to, it was the day when Lord appeared, right? So our acharyas, they say, every year we celebrate Janmashtami and we celebrate that Lord has appeared. But we should also pray to Lord. You are appearing every year in the temple in front of us. But my request is, I want you to appear within my heart. And I know why you are not appearing within my heart. Because currently my heart is filled with all these negativities. So please help me to clean my heart from all these lower natures so that finally you can reside in my heart. So this is what the Bhagavad Gita is supposed to help us with. It is supposed to help us to clear uh, our hearts from all lower natures. And these lower natures generally only cause more suffering to us, right? In fact, in Kannada, if you see many, they call this as Ari Shad Varga. The 6 enemies. Ari means enemy, Shad Varga. 6 enemies are there within the heart. And what are these 6 enemies? As you can see on the slide, lust, anger, greed, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Moha. So Kam means lust, Krodha, anger, Lobha, greed. So Mada means madness, and Moha is illusion, and Matsarya means ಅಸೂಯೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ, envy, right? All of these are negative emotions and none of them are going to keep us happy. For example, asuye, envy, right? What is envy? Envy means I know somebody is good, but I am not able to tolerate it. So I want to damage that person, right? So it means like I'm carrying a red hot red hot fire in my hand, maybe hot coal. Why? Because I want to smash it on his face because I can't tolerate him being so happy, right? So I'm running behind him. Hey, wait, I want to destroy you. I'm coming here. But we little realize that, okay, eventually we may destroy him, but in the due course of carrying it with our hot hands, right? It is we who are suffering more, right? Same way when our hearts are harboring wrong things for another person, that other person may not even realize how bad we are thinking about him. He's happy in his life, but we are constantly bogged down by negativities. So the only way to get rid of these negativities is, can we go to a doctor and say, doctor, please give me a tablet. How many times, what dosage, how many years should I take so that all these dirty things go? There is no medical science solution to this. Therefore, Purandara Das has very beautifully sung, Kama Krodavanu Bidi. Give up this lust and anger. But we may respond back saying, Illa, Purandara Dasa, Bida Kakta illa. I'm not able to give up all this. Is there a way? Yes, there is a way. What is the way? Rama Namavanu Nudi. Kama Krodavanu Bidi. Rama Namavanu Nudi. By constantly chanting God's names, eventually our hearts will get purified. As we see in the life of the author of Ramayana, Valmiki, right? He was so sinful, he could not even utter Rama name. Any of us have difficulty. It's such a simple word, Rama. But it is said if somebody is sinful, they just can't utter Rama's name. I was trying to imagine what could have been the situation. Probably something like this. He would have tried ra, 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 but Rama would never complete. So what was Narada's solution? Narada said, okay, you don't like to chant Rama, chant Mara. That's easy. And he was easily able to chant Ram, 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 Ram. Eventually, in the cyclic order, it became Ram, 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 Ram. And because of the constant chanting, his heart became so clean that he became a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So, we'll conclude with this last slide. So, what about this ISKCON, right? So, Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita or the knowledge about God must be understood in a proper chain, right? Because Lord is not within our sense perception. He's beyond our sense perception. He's beyond time. He's beyond space. We cannot understand him unless he himself tells about him to us. And Bhagavad Gita is where he's talking about himself to us. And the acharyas who are faithfully following these instructions and repeating without adulteration, we should hear from such saintly people. So Lord Krishna himself has established 4 disciplic chains of succession, where the Lord has personally spoken the knowledge about himself, and it is passed on through the saintly people in the disciplic chain. And those 4 are, one is called Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya or Brahma Sampradaya, where Lord initially spoke it to Brahma, spiritual knowledge, and then Brahma to Narada, then Narada to Madhvacharya, and eventually to the disciples later on. And ISKCON, what we are following is in the Brahma Sampradaya. So whatever is spoken by the Lord to Lord Brahma, and as it is passed on through the Acharyas, that is what we are following. There are other Sampradayas also. One is the Sri Sampradaya. When you go to Tirupati, you see people with the white tilak and a red color tilak. They come in the Sri Sampradaya, where Lord has first spoken it to Lakshmi ji, and Lakshmi speaks to others, and then in that same chain of succession, Ramanujacharya comes, right? So the Sri Sampradaya is also an authorized Sampradaya where you can hear spiritual knowledge. Then there is Rudra Sampradaya, where Lord has spoken about himself to Rudra or Lord Shiva. You all know Shiva is a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. How do we know that? In the Vishnu Sahasranam itself. Parvati is asking, Keno Payena Laguna Vishnu Nama Sahasrakam. She's asking, hey, Lord Shiva, I know the topmost names are Lord Vishnu's names, and I see you are also chanting somebody's names. Whose names are you chanting? And what is Lord Shiva replying? Shri Ishvara Vacha, Shri Rama Rama Rameti, Rame Rame Manorame, Sahasranama Tattulyam, Shri Rama Nama Varanane. He's saying, I'm chanting Rama Rama Rama. And those 3 names give me so much happiness. And these names are not ordinary, Parvati. The 3 names of Rama is equal to 1,000 names of Vishnu. So Shiva is a great devotee of Vishnu and Ram. And there is a sampradaya called Rudra Sampradaya, where the followers of Rudra Sampradaya also understand about Lord Krishna in proper sampradaya, in the disciplic chain. And then there is the four Kumaras. Krishna spoke it to Kumaras, and then there is a sampradaya coming there, Kumara Sampradaya. So, because Lord is beyond any material defects and contamination, when he speaks about himself, we get perfect knowledge. And that knowledge, when it comes down as it is through realized saintly people coming in parampara, we get complete perfect knowledge. So next session, we will speak about, these are the 5 main topics the Bhagavad Gita is going to speak on. What are the 5 important topics? The first is Jiva. Jiva. Jiva means me. Who am I? And then Ishvara. Ishvara means who is God. And then Prakriti. What is nature? And then Karma. How do I know what type of activity if I do, I will be benefited? What type of activity if I do, I will complicate myself? That is called Karma. And Kala. Kala means time. So we are very much always wanting everything to be auspicious, right? Kala. Kala also means the time of death, all of that. So we'll study all these 5 topics, right? Ishvara, Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, Karma, and Kala in detail in the Bhagavad Gita. And in the next session, out of these 5 topics, we will study the first topic, Jiva, which is who am I? That is what we are going to cover in the next session of these 5 topics. So that is something we will talk in detail. Apart from this, some other questions that will be answered are these. Why do bad things happen to good people? And does God really exist, or is it simply an imagination? Many people give their own theories. They say, actually, religion is made by man only. There is no religion, no God. We have made all this religion so that there is some law, order, etc. in society. Illandre, everybody will do whatever they want. That is why we have put all this. Many people feel like that. But we're going to see how it is very scientific to believe that God exists. God is not an imagination, God is a fact. And we're going to see how it is scientific. And other things are how do we attain eternal joy? And if there are many, why are there so many religions if there is only one God? All this we will study eventually. So with this, I would like to pause. Thank you for your patient hearing. Do we have some time for taking one or two questions?
Yes, Prabhu. Before we conclude, we can take 2 questions, 1 or 2 questions, Prabhu.
Yes, yes. One question can we take if anybody?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for your patient hearing. I hope whatever was spoken was understood. Anybody would like to say 1 or 2 summary points what we discussed today? Maybe on the chat you can type also if you wish. 1 or 2 summary points. What are the take-home points? Each one can at least type maybe 1 point, at least a take-home point. There are no questions. At least 1 take-home point from today's talk. Okay, so journey of Srila Prabhupada, Vaishali Mataji is saying, Gautam Pai Prabhu is saying 6 qualities of Supreme Lord, why he is called Bhagavan. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, then anything else? Yes, about incarnation and how perfect knowledge means it has to come from the Supreme Lord through a disciplic chain. Harish Prabhu, thank you. In Parampara, all his incarnations are not like my birth or any other person's birth. It is divine, completely divine. Therefore, hearing Bhagavad Gita will help us. Yes, and the glories of Bhagavad Gita, right? Yes. it gives us two
Oh.
things. One is we go to spiritual world. One more is this world also will be happy. Yes. Okay, so I think thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. So before we conclude, today Prabhu gave us great insights from Bhagavad Gita, and his words reminded us to transcend the lower qualities that lead to suffering and to realize the true purpose of life, and altogether to elevate our thinking to a higher mode. So it was a great session, Prabhu. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to you for sharing this profound insights and wisdom with us. Your presence has truly enriched our understanding of Bhagavad Gita today, Prabhuji. So let us express our heartfelt gratitude to Prabhu by loudly chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
So before we conclude, to all of you who joined us today, thank you for your active participation. And we hope we'll get more questions in the future sessions. And thanks for your openness in learning. So as we continue on this 12-week journey, I encourage you all to stay committed and if possible, invite your friends and family who may benefit from this journey. So let's spread this wonderful message from the Lord. So don't miss our next session. We'll dive deeper into the Gita teachings. Until we meet again, may the teachings of Bhagavad Gita guide us on our paths. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.